Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Mr. Payne bringing you Unit 10, Lesson 3, Measures of Central Tendency. I would like to take a moment just to highlight some of the key vocabulary words in this lesson. In our day-to-day activities, we deal with many problems that involves related items of numerical information called data. Statistics is the study of sets of such numerical data. When we gather numerical data, besides displaying it, we often want to know a single number that is representative of data as a whole. We call these types of numbers measures of central tendency. I want you to underline that keyword, measures of central tendency, because on the Regents exam, they're going to say to you, what are the measures of central tendency? And you have to know what they're talking about. They're talking to you about these words. The most common ones are mean and your median. And that's what we're going to talk to you about today. If you recall the calculator lesson that we just did on Unit 10, Lesson 2 last night, you were able to see how to go into your calculator to find these. And we're going to review that in a moment. When conducting a statistical study, it is not always possible to obtain information about every person or situation to which the study applies. Unlike a census, in which every person is counted, some studies use only a sample or a portion of the items being investigated. Whenever a sample is taken, it is vital that it to be fair. That's important. We're going to talk about what does fair mean. In other words, the sample reflects the overall population. So when we ask you, is that survey fair? Did it reflect the overall population? Let's read exercise 3 together and do it together to talk about the word fair and what it means. It says, to determine which television programs are the most popular in a large city, a poll is conducted by selecting a sample of people at random and interviewing them. Outside which of the following locations would the interviewer be most likely to find a fair sample? So I'm looking for the most fair sample. And then explain your choice and why the others are inappropriate. A baseball stadium. If I were to sample people at a baseball stadium, would it get a fair sample? A grocery store, a concert hall, a comedy club. The correct answer here for the most fair sample would be a grocery store. Why would a grocery store give you the most fair sample? Well, what they're trying to get to, and the word there in the reading that would be at random. That's important. And if I'm at a baseball stadium, what they're trying to get to understand is if I'm at a baseball stadium, most likely I like sports. So my survey would be skewed towards people that like sports. If I'm at a concert hall, then most likely I'm a person that's musically inclined or artistically inclined, so my stuff would be skewed towards that. In a comedy club, I would like humor and I would like certain things differently because I'm at a comedy club, so therefore that would be skewed that direction. So they have different interests. If you're at any location that an interest is more heavily weighed than another, then you're not going to get a fair sample. So the best place to take a random interview would be at a grocery store. Now let's talk about our mean and median. Once again, we're given a set of data. Once again, I already typed it into our calculator and I hit all the keystrokes and I took some screenshots of what the calculator looks like. I'm not going to review of what buttons to hit on our calculator because we've done that the day before. But I'm going to point out some important buttons. The question asks to calculate the mean. I could add all these numbers up, and then divide by the 14 players. Or I can type them in as a list into my calculator, which I did, and I'm going to come and look for the X with the bar on it. So if you want to make a little note in your WSQ, pardon me, the X with the bar on it stands for my average or my mean. And in this case, it's 74.57 and asks you to round to the nearest tenth. So it's going to give you 74.57. 0.6. The next part of the question asks me for my median. The definition of median is that I have to put all my numbers in order and then find the middle. Well, in this case, my numbers are in order, so I can cancel off to find the median, or I can look right into my calculator since I typed it in and find that my median is at 74.5. The calculator makes this definitely a lot easier. If I were to find my median, I would have to cancel them off as I go, just like this, until I find the middle. And, I have two numbers left. So you have to figure out what's the number in between 74 and 75, and that's how they came up with 74.5. Is the data set above a fair sample to use to determine the average height of high school male students? Explain your answer. Is this a fair sample of height of high school male students? And the answer that you should come up with is no. But the why is the most important. No. Because what did we sample? We sampled the basketball team. Well, most likely, doesn't the basketball team go after some of the tallest kids in the school? Yes, typically they do. I know there's other situations where they may not, but typically they do. So you have to think about that's why that it is not a fair sample, because they only targeted one part of the population of that school. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to ask the next day in class. Have a good night.